Hi, hey everyone. So I'm here with Edmund Lee. Edmund is a data scientist based in Singapore from Malaysia. He works in manufacturing industry and he's also a public speaker and a blogger. So welcome, Edmund.
Hey, thanks. Hey, Leo. Hey, Claire. Thanks for the invite. Really excited to be here today, for our sharing. Yeah, hope to share more and learn from you guys as well during this session.
Yeah, it's a
Yep.
it's a good chance to have you here, and we are looking forward to learn about you and your aspirations. So why don't we start by having you tell us about your background? Yeah.
My story. Yeah, good. I think to me, I myself, I was a physics student back then, a few years back. And then I think that time I was still wondering what I want to do, right, in future. Because for the typical physics students, either you go towards the research field, educational field, all this stuff. And I was wondering whether I should go with this path as well. But then once I got the opportunity for an overseas internship in Switzerland to work for a research institute called CERN as a summer student, basically for 2 months. So from there onwards, I attended a few machine learning workshops, so to speak. That was the first time where I started learning what machine learning is and started knowing more about data science field. And that really intrigued me a lot, and I got very fascinated with this very, very young field. And back then, I still didn't know much about what data science meant to me. So I decided to find out more, and I started learning more and more machine learning stuff, what data science is. And 2 months after, I came back to Singapore, and then I started learning more about this field by reading articles, going to meet people in this field to learn more about what exactly they are doing. And slowly, I started gaining more interest and being passionate about this field. So that's when I found my passion in data science 2 years back, and yep, until now today. Yeah. So I managed to somehow transition from academia physics into data science.
Our audience who don't know particle physics and data science, can you tell us a bit about the difference between like these two subjects?
Particle physics, yeah, sure. I think in a very broad sense or general explanation, particle physics, in essence, is essentially to understand the fundamentals law of physics, to study what exactly the universe, around us is constituted from. So back then in my overseas internship, because they are a particles collider, so what they do is that they just collide protons, which is just atom, if you think of it. They collide these protons together, when this thing collide, and then they will scatter off. And this is where all the physicists, the scientists, they collect the data, a huge amount of data, and to really study what exactly the fundamental atom that consists of all these particles behind, and to study the matter, that forms the universe that we all know or may not know. And I think this is quite interesting to me back then, yeah.
Okay, so being a particle physicist, you have to work with a lot of data as well. So what really drove you to become a data scientist but not a particle physicist?
That is a good question, because I thought I wanted to become a particle physicist, right, 2 years back. And after that, I found that to me, being interested in particle physics is one thing, but knowing how to do particle physics is the second story, right? I think to me, somehow I find this pure particle physics theory is a bit abstract for me to understand or grasp. And that's why to me, till now, I'm still very interested in particle physics field, to just know about what exactly is going on now, what is the latest breakthrough update, things like that. But once I found out the thing is called data science, I was very fascinated in a way that I was so surprised that we are able to find insights and to find some results, some actionable stuff that we can act on it just based on data alone. And I find this very interesting, because back then I just thought the data is something very raw, and you just look at it, it's kind of boring stuff, right? But after I know that we really can do something meaningful based on the data that we collect, doing some analysis, either building some machine learning models, whatever. But essentially, at the end of the day, we are able to create impact. So this impact is really what motivates me to get so interested in data science field. And that is what made me, decide to transition from physics into data science. Yeah, took a leap of faith. Yeah.
During this transition, have you faced any difficulties, or do you have a moment that you really want to give up?
A lot of times. I can't imagine, because at the very beginning when I started, deciding whether I should jump into data science, because back then I was still in a year 3 in my university days, And it was a bit tough to me because I was about to graduate soon and I was so busy with my final year project. And I got no time, to study the second subject, entirely new subject. But then I realized that thinking long term, 5 to 10 years ahead in my career in the future, doing physics stuff, fundamentals, theoretical physics really make me still motivated or make me happy in a way that the physics stuff alone. But then after I compare this with data science, I think what I want more, what I desire more is more on the impacts. Yeah, I'm not saying that research doesn't create impact, but I want to have the impact like now, right? What we can do with the data that we have now,
So
But
impact
research that takes time. Yeah.
is more immediate.
Yeah, it's more immediate and it's more 6 months or 1 year time ahead. But research, it is an unknown to me, right? It's an unknown because sometimes I don't know whether I'm heading into the right direction, whether the research that I'm doing is meaningful to the society. But in data science field, if you have the data, you have the sufficient domain knowledge, you have the technical skills, solving the right problem, then you are able to create the real impact, right? Yeah. So this is what I'm more craving for, using data to empower people and the business, in the society. I know that to me throughout the journey struggles, yes, definitely a lot. But then once I think about the impact that I can make using data, I think that's what make me persist.
So how do you think that your physics degree, how does it help you in your data science degree?
Yeah, I think sometimes a lot of people, they also ask the same question, like, do you think you wasted 4 years time, back in your university days? Do you think you studied the wrong subject, right? The wrong major in your uni days? But to me, I think somehow I think it is part of the luck, because if I never studied physics, I would never have the chance to go to CERN, right? If I never had the chance to go to CERN, I would never know what machine learning it is, what data science is, right? So I think to me, not just about the luck, but more on the foundation that physics subject was able to give me in terms of the calculus. When you study data science, you need to do a lot of differentiation, right? And in terms of neural networks, when you go to the technical detail, the calculus part. So this is where all the mathematical part, statistical part comes into play. And I realized that physics really gave me a very good foundation to get started and to really help me in my programming skills in terms of my logical thinking, the thinking process, how to code, all this stuff. So I think, definitely physics is still important to me and really helps me a lot in my journey, in my career path. So I wouldn't say I would regret, but if you still give me a choice, I would still choose physics because I still like it.
Okay, so you mentioned because we know like data scientists need to have certain programming skill, and you mentioned like physics train you up to become a programmer. So can you elaborate on that?
Yeah, I think okay, back then in my uni days, right, in physics we just took up a very fundamental knowledge of programming skills. In terms of language, we learned MATLAB and C++. And Python is something that I learned as my side project, research project. And when I first started learning MATLAB and C++, I was very poor in programming. I was so suck at programming and I hated it. But until I chanced upon Python, that really changed my mind because Python was so easy to learn and it's very user-friendly, versatile, and strongly supported by the huge community here. So this is when I started learning more and more Python together with my research project because they're linked together. I got to use Python to do the research, program it, to solve some problems, things like that. So this is when I got started in programming skills. And because in physics, a lot of abstract problems that you need to figure it out. And I think the thinking process, how to figure it out from nothing to something really helps in my programming thinking process, to think of the roadmap, the framework, what to do next, what to expect, right? The possibilities that lie ahead.
So if you knew that you would become a data scientist, would you choose physics again, or would you like choose another subject like computer science or data science?
I think I would choose physics. If you were to let me choose again, I would still choose physics, right? Because I'm still very, very interested in understanding what's going on around us from the physicist perspective. And I think data science field in general is just a tool or a field, if I would say. And physics really helps in terms of the thinking, how you can break it down into something very fundamental truth, and then you build from there. So this is what I like about physics. look at it in a very objective perspective, break the complicated things down to the very fundamentals level, and to build your knowledge from there onwards. Yeah.
Right. So I want to circle back to the programming like Python. So there is a constant argument between like Python and R, which one is better. So what is your take on that?
Yeah, definitely. I even asked this question on LinkedIn, I think some time back. Do you prefer Python or R? There's a huge lot of comments below it. Some people support R, some people support Python. I think to me, this is based on my experience. Python is more popular than R at this point of time. And in terms of the support by the community, I think Python is better than R in this case. And to me, R is very, very good in doing statistical stuff or doing visualization. But when it comes to building machine learning models, or when it comes to deploying your models to real life, then this is where R cannot do so much about it. Because Python has more support, more libraries, TensorFlow, Keras, PyTorch, and even PySpark, right? If you want to deploy it at large scale, so you can use PySpark to help you to do it in a very quick way and a very scalable method. Right? So I think to me, I still prefer Python because of the versatility behind Python and how easy it is to pick up and to use it and to deploy it.
So Eamon, we talk about like
Yes.
your background as a physics student and how you transit from that to data scientist. So I know that you're also a blogger and you publish at you publish at QS Data Science, KD Nugget, and the AI Journal. So can you tell us a little bit about that? Why you want to become a blogger and why about data science?
I think it was to me it was a coincidence because 2 years ago I was still learning, doing my internship. I wanted to, because I struggled a lot. I faced a lot of mistakes, errors along the way, and I wanted to share my journey, my experience, or even my mistakes with all the aspiring data scientists who want to go into this field, to share with them what exactly that I'm encountering, to hopefully guide them how to learn or go into this field. So this is where I started. If you go to Medium, the first article that I wrote was in fact how I transitioned from physics into data science, right? So this is the first article ever that I started documenting my journey, and the whole idea was really to share and to inspire and to get more people to understand about this field. The struggles they are going through, they are not alone because a lot of us are facing the same problem as well. So it is in a way to motivate them, provide some guidance. Maybe you can do this, do this to learn data science, or maybe you can even try a few ways on how to land a job in this field. So throughout my whole articles, I do a different approach. I provide some technical data science articles, or even non-technical data science articles like why you should write production code as a data scientist. Nothing technical about it, but maybe just to provide an argument, a rationale on why you should do these things. I find it very satisfying to write articles like this to help people, not just for the friends around me, but really for the community out there globally. Yeah, this is what I find very good.
I'm sure you will have some interesting case to share with us. Can you do that?
Interesting case, as in.
Through your articles, you must have met some interesting
like me
story and
yeah, like
yeah, I'm sure, Eamon, you have inspired a lot of people. So can you maybe can you share some story with us? About the people inspire or other cases you met?
Yeah, I think writing articles really what got me started. Even long time before I do public speaking. So writing was the first step, right, where I started sharing, building my network on LinkedIn or Medium. So throughout the journey, writing really helps me a lot because it brought me a lot of opportunities on public speakings. Because of articles, someone approached me, to share my stories, to share my experience at some of their meetups there. And I was very glad, I'm very grateful for that. So this part of the things that writing brought me. The other thing is also some business opportunities or job opportunities, because I also do some consulting project for my clients. So even some people, they read about the articles and they approached me on LinkedIn. I was very surprised. How do you find me, right? And they say, oh, I read your articles online. I'm just curious if you are interested, in working out something together. So that's when things got started. Yeah, all these things. And also some even job opportunities. In the short term, maybe people may not notice your articles, but in the long term, more and more people will start reading, right? And even recruiters, headhunters, or even your prospective employers, they will start reading articles. And maybe at that time, they may not be hiring. But at the point when they start hiring, the first thing that pop in their mind could be you. Yeah, so I think writing really helps in terms of the job opportunities, things like that. So that's why I still continue writing, because I think writing doesn't just help me think clearly, but also help me reach out more people in this field. Like Claire, like Leo.
Got the motivation to work harder and then to write more articles and then to do more interviews, right?
Yeah. When you reach out more people, you also start learning more about this field as well, right? Based on their experience, what they encounter, how they learn, what they learn, and who they learn from. So I think all these aspects are quite important, because I think it's hard to just learn alone. But rather if you learn from the crowd, right? Crowdsource intelligence. I think it's kind of cool. You learn from the crowd. Okay, cool. Yeah, just pick up something that you find it useful.
So, writing blog and public speaking must have taken a lot of time. How do you manage the time when you have to write like blog and do public speaking? You have to do your day job.
Time management. I try to keep it as the routine, because I think it's hard to come out with a new topic every week or even 2 or 3 weeks. So usually what I do in terms of writing, I try to brainstorm a list of topics and to structure it in a way that I'll write one topic every single week. So every week I won't try to think of any other topic, because I already have the list. I just need to look at the topic, do some research, and see what people are looking for, and try to see if I can relate back to my stories. Yeah, because people find it relatable, right? If you relate it to your stories and try to share your challenges, how you solve it. I think this is a kind of a general way of doing it. Also speaking, I try to structure it in a more routine way as well. Even now, I'm joining Toastmasters, and I try to do everything at once. When I'm trying to brainstorm a topic, I try to draft out my speech. I try to do it in 1 day or 2 days, non-stop, right? So try to do everything at chunk size, even for other projects as well. So I'm very poor at multitasking. Tried my best to focus on one thing at a time.
So you're breaking up the tasks into your small tasks, and then you're tackling them one by one.
Yeah, exactly. So this is how I would usually do it. Yeah. I will get distracted easily, so I need to focus on really one thing at a time. Otherwise, I will be, oh shit, what did I do?
Oh yeah, about your audience. I believe you have a large group of audience, right? Even on LinkedIn or maybe in your companies. What are the common questions that they have been asking in terms of data science or data science related career?
Yeah, a lot. I think one of the common questions that I usually receive is, I'm a beginner, so how should I learn about data science? Maybe the other question that they will ask is, I'm a beginner, but how can I land a job in data science? So one is how to learn, the other one is how to land a job.
So your typical answer?
Yeah.
They're typical questions, and usually what I would suggest is really how to learn, right? Is to be resourceful, learn from. I'm sharing my way of learning, by the way. How I learn is that usually how I would say is learn from online courses first, because online courses is all about implementation. They don't teach much about the fundamental parts. What is the math behind? What is the assumption behind? They just teach you, okay, you do this, dot fit, thing, you got this, accuracy, stuff like that, right? So that is good, but it's also a bad way. It's a good way here is that it gets you motivated. It gets you to know how exactly you can do it, implement it right away, very fast, right? So it gets you motivated, gets you to know how exactly that people are doing it in terms of model building. Then after you get a hang of how to do it, and the second part of this is to read a book. And I would recommend one book and only one book, Introduction to Statistical Learning.
I know, this is my first.
Yeah, it's my first one as well. I think this book really helps me understand more about the underlying math in a very understandable way, because it's not very technical, but it really breaks things down into a very, again, fundamental way, that essentially the regression, the machine learning model that we are talking about are just y equals to mx. To me, this is how I see it. Y is equal to mx, the linear regression. So basically, this is how the modern machine learning works, and this is how I gain more the mathematical foundation from there onwards. So this is how to learn about data science, right? So to me, it's start doing first, then start reading to understand more about the fundamental parts. Then how to land a job. Typically, there are only 3 things that I would say. First is to get relevant experience, either by doing internship or doing your side project, right? Side project. If you don't have any internship, then it's great. either do some unpaid internship. Just find someone or company to do unpaid internship, get exposure, or maybe you find some interesting problem and then to solve it, build your data science models and to share it with the rest of the world. So this is the first thing. Second thing is to slowly build your portfolio. First is to get experience. But once you get experience, you need to consolidate everything into your portfolio. And to me, having GitHub, having a resume is not important. It's too competitive, right? Agree? So many people out there looking for this field. So to me, I really need to think of a way, or this how I would suggest people to differentiate themselves compared to other candidates, right? Mm-hmm. If you were to submit a resume, other people just submit a resume, your resume is just a piece of paper, right, in a pile of resumes out there. And how can people notice your existence at all? So to me, you need to build a portfolio, writing, speaking, podcast, whatever things that you can show the world, get people to know you. So this is the second thing. The third thing is really to start reaching out people, networking. So that's why I go to a lot of meetups, a lot of different sharing sessions, a lot of different competitions to network with other people. You would know because you might meet someone who really can guide you in your career path, right? Maybe an employers, maybe a HR recruiters, maybe they somehow call you, hey Leo, are you interested in joining our company? You know, we have a vacancies here, you know, give it a try, things like that. So we will know, but we can try and to reach out more and more people. Yeah, these are 3 ways. To land a job in a higher probability. Higher probability, right? Yeah.
So if I'm a complete beginner, so what should I learn first? So you mentioned there's math, there's statistics, there's ML knowledge, and also programming. So what should I learn first?
I think get your programming first, right? I wouldn't go into the machine learning part first, but there are 2 critical parts that we have to learn first. The programming, pick a language and start with it. Normally people, they even before they get started, they will ask themselves for a long time, should I start with R or Python, or should I start with, I don't know, whatever language? And they try different languages and they are not great at any one of them. So I would suggest focus on one language, be great at it. And then on a sideway, meantime, you can start building your mathematical and statistical knowledge. But you won't have to go into so deep that you need to derive the whole formula. But I think at a very minimum level, you need to understand what is calculus, what is the p-value, what is the population size, you know, things like that. How do you interpret box plots? How do you interpret distribution plot? What is distribution plot? What's the assumption behind all these things, right? So I think these are the 2 main things, because programming is a tool, right? Programming is a tool for you to do your analysis, to run your models. But the statistical part and the mathematical part is to help you decide what models to use and to help you explain your models, to interpret your models. So only then I would suggest to start going into machine learning parts. This is how I would suggest.
There are many roles in a data science project.
Yes.
So there's data scientists, there are machine learning engineer, and so on. So how do you define a data scientist? Like, what does a data scientist do in a typical data science project?
I think the definition that I would say here are only 2 words. I got this inspiration from a very popular YouTuber called Joma Tech.
Yeah.
Hashtag him, Joma Tech. He said data scientist is a problem solver. But I also understand that every role is a problem solver. But to me, problem solver in data science field is a more precise term, because data is only one thing. But as a data scientist, we use data to solve a business problem. So I think that's what data scientist is doing. And the difference between the data scientist role compared to other roles out there, right, like data analysts, data engineers, machine learning engineers, deep learning engineers, is that data scientist looks in a wider picture, like from framing a business problem into a data science problem, first thing. And the second thing is the complexity behind the models, tuning, and all these things, how they should build the models. And these are not being done by the data analysts. Data analysts alone, I think, in general, I'm not saying all of them, but in general, data analysts, they are more towards the business domain knowledge part, and they build dashboard to guide business insights. So this is cool. But data scientists, they are more into the modeling part. Data cleaning, data analytics. It's more into the future, predictive analytics in a way. And I think this is what the focus of data scientists is. But also machine learning engineers, deep learning engineers, these are more technical role compared to data scientists, because they are the one who build, to me, is they know a lot of things about the model part, how to build the model, how to fine tune the model from scratch. So they're the very technical person when it comes to building a very sophisticated model. And also they know about how to productionize the models in general sense for machine learning engineers and deep learning engineers. But data scientists, it depends on the size of your company, right? If your company is a huge company, MNC, usually data scientist is more on building a POC, a prototype model. And then you have someone to help you productionize it. Maybe machine learning engineers, maybe deep learning engineers, whatever, right? Maybe solution architect or data engineers. So I think the role here of a data scientist varies, depends on the size of your company. But of course, if you're in a startup, you have to wear different hats, right? You have to do this, do that, you have to build a pipeline.
Anything.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, I think solving a problem might be easy, but finding a right problem to solve is what is your experience on like finding a right business problem, or can you give some advice to the fellow data scientists on like how to frame a correct business problem?
Yeah.
Okay, there are two sides of this, right? So the current company that I'm in now, because they are the MNC, so we have our roles segregated very precisely. Everyone should do what, what you should do, what you should do. So the role is very, very precise. There's no overlap area in general. So the problems in my current company, usually we have our product managers or our so-called our bosses. They will understand the problem and frame it to product managers, then they will further dilute it and further filter it. So when it comes to our point, the problem is already well framed. We already know what we should tackle, how we should tackle, just that it's the matter of when we can deliver the problem. So back to the question, how to frame it. And I struggled this as well when I was doing some consulting projects with my clients, right? They wanted this and they just gave me a very generic question or concern that they had. And then I have to narrow it down, asking a lot of right questions. I'm not sure whether it's right or not, but I just try to ask a lot of questions to see, do you want to do this? Why do you want to do this? So usually how I would do it is I try to listen to what they are saying, jot it down, writing down some notes, and then I will try to understand why they are having this problem, why they want to solve this, right? The motivation behind the why behind it, why they want to solve this. And I will try to think of a way to further narrow it down because the expectation must be aligned. Maybe they expect you to do this, but then within the time frame you can only deliver this. So the expectation here needs to be aligned. Of course, when we have the very general problem statement, we can tackle in different angles, and that takes a bit of time because you can deliver different things at once. But then I'll try to filter it down to one exactly a niche, a problem statement that he or she wants to solve. Then I'll try to ask, okay, so we have 5 problems here. After you narrow it down, what is the priority here? What is the highest priority that you want to tackle now, right? And then we'll try to pick 1 or 2 and try to see when we can deliver it, the project, the whole timeline. And then this is how we get started. Just try to ask more questions, narrow it down to a few problems based on the priority, pick 1 or 2, and try to see whether our expectation is aligned and propose our timeline, how we can deliver it, what is the approach, things like that. I think the metrics here plays a key role. If you solve a problem, what exactly is your KPI? Maybe your KPI is to increase the conversion. Maybe your KPI is to predict a model that gives a higher accuracy compared to the existing model. Maybe your model is to increase the user base. So that depends. Yeah. So the
priority. So how do you set up priority?
I think the priority here lies on them. So because we are helping them to solve their problems, right? That means we need to solve a problem that is of their utmost priority. So usually they will have different ideas, right? They will give you, okay, but I think maybe we can do this, maybe you can do this, maybe you can do this. Then we have different directions. Then I will try to pull them in again. So okay, I understand that you have this 1, 2, 3. So may I know what exactly that is the most important to you, that we can solve it, that can result in the highest value to you, to your business. Yeah, of course we have 1, 2, 3 problems, but if you solve the lower priority problem, yes, maybe you can solve it, but the impact might not be what the customer wants in the end. And then the misalignment of the expectation here may result into, dissatisfaction. They maybe say, hey, I think this is not what I wanted at the first place. So this is when the whole argument comes in. Oh, how come I didn't do a great job? Why did my client not like my stuff,
So Eamon, you mentioned building a portfolio helps you to land a job in data science. And I'm sure Eamon, you have an excellent portfolio by writing blog and doing public speaking. Besides landing a job in data science career, so does writing blog and doing public speaking help you in any way in your day-to-day job for being a data scientist?
Yeah, I think I would definitely say that it helps a lot because in a very underlying sense, one of the reasons, the main reasons why I write articles, why I do public speaking is to really improve my communication skills, my storytelling skills, or communication skills. Because I think more and more data scientists, they tend to focus more on the technical skills. It's good, it's great because you build a good model, you know what this stuff, that you know your stuff basically. But once you build your stuff, you build your model, now it comes to a point you need to present your insights to your boss, your stakeholders, your clients. And just imagine you have done a great job in building a very good model, maybe 99% accuracy, and you show them how my model, can achieve 99% accuracy. And then people, your audience may ask you, okay, that's cool. So what's right? So what is the actionable insight that I can act on this right now based on your model? And the way how we deliver the insights matters a lot. The way how we structure our presentation, how we tell the stories to our stakeholders matters a lot. And one of the very key things that I learned in my current company from one of the very great data scientists is that whenever we had a presentation or before the presentation, we need to prepare, right? The first question that he asks is, hey Evan, so what is the stories that we're going to tell later on during the presentation? And at first I didn't understand, what story are you talking about here, right? We are presenting, man. And then after that, I slowly understand that it's the whole idea behind of the storytelling, how we structure in a very engaging, entertaining way that non-technical people, they will understand what exactly we are saying. Not just bombard them, telling them, so this the p-value, this the 90 percentile, all this stuff. People don't understand. They just want the layman terms, the storytelling kind of format. We all, like to listen to stories. So I think the writing and the speaking part really helps in my communication skills.
So Evan, you mentioned storytelling, and that's someone always say that like the data science sometimes is art rather than science. So do you agree with that statement?
Sometimes yes. All the time no. Sometimes yes. Sometimes yes. I think to me right now I'm more focusing on my soft skills. So that's why I join a lot of sharing, trying to improve my speaking skills or writing skills. Because how I see this is in data science field, technology or models or some machine learning models, deep learning models, they change every single day. Okay, just given that now 100% of what we have now in the industry, right? The models part. You can't guarantee that in the future, what you learn now is already obsolete, outdated. But soft skills that you have now today can also be applied moving down the road, right, in future. So this is how I see it. Having soft skills can really help in the long term. Having a good technical skills, yes, it's good, but you need to continuously learn, right? So to me, I'm trying to focus more on the soft skill part to help me in the long term in my career when it comes to sharing the insights, to really persuade people, to motivate people to use what I have, right? There's also a famous quote by Joe Tech. If you have done an analysis and people just don't use your analysis to do anything about it, have you done an analysis? So there's a question mark, right? Have you done an analysis? For sure, right? So I think the soft skill part really is a highly underrated skill here. Too many people talk about AI, deep learning, but not many people, they focus on the soft skill parts. Yeah,
many people they underestimate the power of storytelling skills. So that's why learning.
We are all learning.
Yeah, we're all learning. Learn Nas Daily. I like Nas Daily. Have you guys watched his video? Nas Daily. It's one of the very popular Facebook content creator in a video format. So the way he tells stories, I like it. And I try to learn as much as possible from him. And also from Vox.com. Vox.com is a very popular journalism platform. I watch their YouTube videos. Their storytelling skills are so great. So much to learn.
想了解更多，記得 like 我哋條片同埋 subscribe 我哋嘅 channel 啦。